Oh, you're good. Super Chips and then EFI Live came out, and I got my driver's license, and it went from there. And then all it took was a couple videos online of Tony's truck and Shy Diesel in Terre Haute, Indiana, and broke the crank the first year there before I even went to the event, and started the motor build process. And being young, I did everything myself except for putting the rotating assembly together. Shop did that, our local shop did that, and then everything else I did myself. Um, my best friend did my transmission, which I don't know. Tony don't know him, but him and Dimitri Millard were like the top three transmission builders in the United States at the time, and he does all the technical stuff that I can't do, but everything else I've done and putting the stuff together and going. So then we decided to start competing and shoot for 770. That was no problem. And then we're going for 670 and still driving it on vacation. And then we got into sled pulling, which once that bug bites you, there is no turning back from the sled pulling bug. So we're hitting that really hard. But as of 2025, it's not a 2.6 truck. Work stock and the street diesel classes have got pretty rough. Stock turbo or stock appearing, but they won't allow an S400 truck or S300 truck into the classes. But some of these trucks never see the street, but they're in the street diesel class. So we've been fighting that really hard. But down here, we got guys that are trying to change the rules and make it more fun, more fair. But I don't know who makes the rules, or they say the pullers get together to make these rules. But I know Tony probably dealt with this throughout the years with pulling, how the rule changes, but all the pullers complain about the rule together. But somehow, I don't know where they come up with it. It's like they just throw a dart. But no, the industry, the way it's changed just in my short time is just it's crazy, because now with the things that are available, like what Tony's doing, the possibilities are endless. But there's just some big things that have happened. I would say in the last 3 years that have changed the industry for the better. But I think our plan is in the next year or two to try to do UCC, but with a very street friendly truck, probably under 1,500 horse, and try to make it through all the events. I think a reliable lower horsepower truck, I think, could be very, I don't want to say competitive, because you can't compete with 3,000 horsepower on dyno, but a truck that can make it through all the events and you drive it home afterwards. And
I to jump in there, Justin, I think there is an opportunity for something of that nature. I think that's kind of the birthplace of the thought behind King of the Streets, or even back in the day, Diesel Power Challenge, right? Was having something drivable and powerful. Folks, by the way, I'm Paul Wilson. Of course, you're watching or listening to Hooked on Diesel, a podcast sponsored and brought to you by Dirty Hooker Diesel. Speaking of dirty hookers.
Yes, it's Tony Burkhard with Dirty Hooker Diesel. How we doing?
Doing great. Glad to have you on. Tony's joining us today. Justin Koehler is joining us today. As you guys noticed there, I hit the record button while we were just kind of having a conversation about where's the industry going, right? Where have we been? Where are we going? Justin, you were mentioning that you've seen some of these rule changes where it's hard to understand what was the logic behind this. Why are we doing it this way? Things like that. Tony, can you talk a little bit about that? You've been on some of the committees and some of the planning and been involved in some of the rule changes throughout the years, I would assume.
Yeah, so much has changed in the whole industry. It's crazy, and it's never ending, the rules. Listening to talk about all the rule changes and things that are going on, and even UCC. I got all kinds of input. I can bounce around all over the place on here, but what's the one particular thing you'd like to know about?
Turbo changes. Why? How do we pick the classes? And if we're talking about the lower level classes like street or work stock is pretty common
Hot
phrase in
street,
my
yeah.
area. How do these associations decide on how do we group people together? Who goes into what class? Can we just start there? Is that a good place to start, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not so much just complaining, but like, how do you get in your average? You know,
So
I
that's
would say,
that or I should say, my experience with that has been just a roller coaster because you end up with too much horsepower in the class, and then you weed out all the young guys, and then in a few years it comes back around, and then the rules start back over with strictly stock appearing, and then they want more power. They're thirsty. They want to bring more power to the class, and then that's where they add in the T3, T4, and I always tell them, you want to add more power in, and when you do that, along comes with all the safety rules. So it's a struggle to try to keep them guys to keep the power down, right? I kept my 05, I kept for many years just to drop in stock appearing, and left it that way. And they even went up to some pretty big chargers that they made legal, and I just kept it stock appearing about 750 horse until last year, when I always help guys with setting up suspension and everything. So I helped them guys dial in their trucks, and they had the more horsepower. They're running 1,000, 1,100 horsepower. Okay, so they beat my 750 with my setup, so I had to up the charger. But it's these associations, I don't blame them for upping the safety rules, and then your average Joe doesn't want to put all that into it, and I get it, right? It's up and down constantly.
I think the safety, like Tony said, I think the safety, I mean, that plays into all the classes. I mean, I don't really think that there's one person out there that would complain with some of the safety rules. I mean, they might price wise, but how do you put a price on safety? I mean,
It is tough though. I will say from especially from the entry level classes, if you're talking about work stock or street truck, those guys to go and spend another $2,000 dollars on safety equipment, a lot of them it's just not in the budget. It's just not in the cards. So I wonder how many people, like you said, Tony, I wonder if that does really start to weed people out to where they just legit can't keep up with it.
So you'll see, and these are examples. Guys want to bring their street trucks in, and their farm trucks, and the buddies want to compete with one another, and that is awesome. That's how you get the sport to grow. But when they want to start adding power, trans blankets, right? You don't need a trans blanket on a stock appearing truck, right? Air knives, the kill switches have always worked for the stock appearing trucks. I mean, fire suits and helmets, right? You start adding up all those little things, and drive shaft hoops through everything. Drive shaft hoops are not a bad thing. But if a guy's only going to hook his truck a couple times a year just for fun with 600 horsepower, sometimes some of that stuff is overkill, right? But it really drives the class. Again, we do that roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I totally agree with what Tony just said on that. I mean, it's always going to change, and some of the classes they'll come back.
Now, Justin, you had mentioned running an S400 in a stock, a street truck class. Do you think that's like a fair level of competition compared to the guy with a stock turbo? Do you think the stock turbo guy should be left alone? I know, Tony, we just saw that at Dan's, that it was stock turbo only in their entry level class, and then there was a class above there. I don't know exactly what the limits were. Maybe up to S300. I don't know if they were letting S400 trucks in there. But it's a power thing, right? Is the idea is we want to group guys together that have a similar power level so they can actually compete with each other.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean it. No, I mean it's. I don't know. You start looking in like the stock appearing stuff, like Tony said. I mean, you go back and just watch some of Tony's videos. I mean, some of the stock appearing trucks now with you have some big names like Tater Built and some other ones out there that they're taking a stock appearing Charger truck and making 11, 12, 1300 horsepower with them. So whether it's fair or not, I'm not one to speak on that because plenty of people get upset sometimes. But like I said, with the way the industry changed, I mean, I bet when Tony started pulling, I bet there wasn't a truck over 1,000 horsepower with a stock appearing Charger on.
I don't know that there were trucks back then. I
And,
think when Tony started pulling, it was with horses.
yeah, but I mean now you go to any of these work stock classes or whatever, and you'll see 2 or 3 thousand plus horsepower trucks with a stock appearing Charger on them. So the way the industry's changed now, I mean, like Tony said, I don't know. I don't know if fair is the way to go with it, but like that class will come and go. Everybody's going to move up to 2.6, 3.0, ready to move up to where, some of the other guys are, way up there to, non-drivable trucks anymore on the street or whatever. So, no, I mean, I think I think that topic doesn't get addressed enough outside of the groups.
Yeah.
And if you talk about it, everybody's like, well, it's just how it is. But, we've seen guys in index classes and drag racing and, everything else evolve and rules change and evolve with the classes, with the horsepower, with the industry. So, I mean, I don't see why I can't move over to sled pulling too and kind of change with how the industry does. But it's definitely a big subject. I mean, like Tony said, there's plenty of points to touch on.
I used to back in the day, I would with my 2.8 Charger, I would leave home usually Thursday and hit a pull or two through Michigan, go down to Ohio, Indiana, and come back home with a fistful of money, driving my truck with the 2.8 Charger on it, sleeping in my truck. It's so funny. The guys around here, they're always like, wouldn't believe it. I saw Tony down in Ohio and sleeping in his truck. Those rules, that 2.8 rule worked multi-states, but anymore, it's pretty tough to take a truck and fit in rules like that, pull all weekend, right?
Right.
You go to 3 states. Every place has different rules. Kind of sucks when you want to go different places.
Yeah. For sure, the traveling is getting harder, but at the same time, like we've noticed that the farther east we go, the rules are more similar, or the class rules are more open to people. If you can say it, because now they got like we're starting to get hot street down here, so which our local stuff has switched over to now, thankfully. But I've got a bunch of people out east that I know that I want to travel and pull with, and they've got 2 or 3 street diesel classes to fit everybody, and they are usually 20 plus trucks deep in each class. So it's out there. It's trying to convince some of these societies, or however you want to look at it, just to adapt or maybe welcome some new stuff. But,
yeah. I know in my area, one of the challenges that people talked about for a long time is the major association that kind of runs most of the sanctioned sled pulls by me. One is further, they're most of their congregation are much further south in the state. So they really didn't want to travel up north here. So we're kind of the edge of their radius. And then on top of it, it really was an organization that had been founded by tractor pullers who had allowed trucks to come on board. So it's the primary drive there was tractors. Well, listen, tractors bring a lot to the sled pull world, but what tractor rules are and classes are and their motivations are, I think we can all agree are quite different than what the truck guys are looking for. So I know that's been one of the hard things to get kind of some of those guys on board to accept and expand into opening up new classes. Now, one of the challenges of opening up new classes is I've also seen guys do it wrong where an organization will have too many classes and then there's 3 guys competing in each class. Which way do you want to have it? Which problem do you want to deal with? Tony, what about you? What's the smallest class with more than one truck? I mean, have you competed consistently with just 2 or 3 trucks for a whole season?
I want to say probably for the past 5-6 years, cheap hooker, there's 2. Sometimes I go there and I'm the only one that makes the pass down the track. And cheap is set up as the class we have is hot class. So anything, any turbo size, any combination, right? And it's a little tough. Places will have me just split show on because they want to see that white truck go down the track, right?
Right.
But
Right. Yeah.
but I'm not going to get that with the street class or 2.6. If there's only 1 truck or 2 trucks, you're not going to have the class, right?
Right.
So, I just been fortunate. Everyone wants to see that truck go down the track. So, there's no competition when there isn't any competition. And
this is one of the reasons
goals are, right?
It does. And this is one of the reasons that I've always loved drag racing. Sled pulling, I get it. Everybody who I've ever known who has sled pulled and dragged race will tell you that sled pulling was more exciting. From a driver standpoint, consistently, there's very few people who I think would disagree with that. However, from a spectator side, the one cool thing about drag racing is it's very easy to equalize the class. You could bracket race, you could run index, like it's very easy to make it a fair level of competition to where everybody who's participating is competing. Whereas with sled pulling, I think one of the problems we've seen is that it is hard for the younger guys to get in. I love to know that this is cyclical in some sense, that eventually it will come back around and we will hit a sweet spot of where it really makes sense for the most amount of people and get a lot of people into that entry level class. I think we all know that's what an organization needs to keep sled pulling growing, right? Is we need a young crowd to constantly be coming in. Otherwise, it doesn't work long term. Justin, cue us in. Tell us a little bit about your history in diesel performance. What kind of classes have you competed in? What kind of truck are you driving right now?
Well, I've got a 04 LB7 truck. It's been a long road. Piece by piece, and trying to get it lined out. And I'm one of those, I don't want to send it off somewhere and have it done. So I'm hands-on learning with it. So I've tried to have my hand on every single piece of the truck. I know it over, every nut and bolt I've touched. And we've been doing, last year was my first full season of pulling, not missing any events or anything. But we've been doing a lot of drag racing before that, a lot of dirt drags. But for some reason, the Middle East, like right now, there's not a whole lot of dirt drags going on, or with the rain, there's been no drag racing hardly this year. So it's kind of been slow. Been working on stuff, changing stuff up, getting safety stuff caught up with some of the new rules this year, and it's been a road trying to get stuff to work together. And you buy one thing, and you're like, hey, I finally got the best part, and then 2 weeks later, somebody releases a better one, and it's like it's never ending. Trying to keep my dream alive of still being able to drive my truck, load up the 2 kids and the wife and be able to go on vacation with it. That has been the hardest challenge. And everybody, for probably the past 7 or 8 years, they said, you've got to pick one thing. You can't do it all. And it's kind of stuck with me to determine to prove all of them wrong. And so, we've been able to. We drove it to Gatlinburg, Tennessee last year, which is like 5 hours for us. Drove it down there. Vacation, come home. Like to drive it to most events, but it's that if it breaks, I'd like to have the trailer there for it just in case kind of deal.
That's the truth of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, changing setups, and it's been a roller coaster with it. So, I'm proud of it though. Proud of it, and I'm ready to see what the next couple of years bring. Like I said, King of the Street would be King of the Street's a goal to compete in, and it's probably a little bit more achievable for us with the setup than UCC. But I was going to UCC before they called it UCC. So, didn't miss it, never missed a year. So, we got goals and just watching how the industry is changing and trying to keep up on everything is probably one of the biggest obstacles. Getting different parts to work together and keeping it within the lines of what we want. So
that's awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear it. We always love to have new people coming up into the industry, especially like hardcore enthusiasts who are kind of getting their feet wet out there in their local events, and then starting to look at some of the more national events. Right? We don't have Diesel Power Challenge anymore, which I think was a great introduction for people to the national stage of diesel performance. Now King of the Streets kind of seems to have stepped in and kind of helped fill that void. It's still tough competition. There's big bad motherfucker trucks there. I mean, that's where Patterson put down his first 3,000 horsepower was at King of the Streets, if I remember correctly. So they're not. It's not small time chump game over there. It's the real deal.
Well, real quick, I want to throw out that I've been talking about it for the past year, and like to throw an event together, and I wanted to call it just the like a tuner event, and where a guy we can do a truck pull, drag race, dyno. We can even do sand drags or dirt drags, and the only thing that you can change is the tune amongst all the events.
I love it.
So think about it. You can't run paddles on a dyno, right? And you're not going to want just your tire choice.
You don't want a mud tire on the dyno.
Sure,
and you don't want to go.
I mean,
you don't want to go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you don't want a big pull-in hitch to go drag racing, right? I mean, it's just make it affordable. You go there with the best you got. That's going to work all the way across the board. So just try to utilize your daily driver. And we could have two classes, but just a tuner class. And if your truck breaks, all the vehicles have to be, I had a location here that I wanted to do it at. At nighttime, all the vehicles are quarantined unless they're under repair, and the parts that you put on cannot be greater or bigger than what you had failed. So if your turbo went, you have to, it has to be monitored. But all the vehicles are quarantined and at nighttime, and all you can do is a laptop, right?
I love this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
so much yes behind this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's exciting. I'd like to see where that goes.
We can work on this, Paul. I want to make something that's affordable, right? So
yeah.
Or even at a street drive-in.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. You got to drive it there. You have to do everything without changing anything other than the tune, right?
That's exciting.
I love that. I love that idea.
That's not to take anything away from UCC or anything like that. This just gives smaller guys, and I don't even want to say a stepping stone. It's just not many people want to compete in UCC, but they would love to compete, right?
Yeah.
With their buddies or whatever, and not break the bank. So I know you're on the time. I'll shut up.
No. I was just gonna say, okay, I'm gonna cut out, guys. Tony, thank you so much for joining us. Justin, thank you so much for joining us. I'm horrible at scheduling, not only my professional life, but my personal life, folks. So I apologize. Don't worry. You're going to hear a lot more of me. We have an insane number of podcast interviews coming out over the next 2 weeks. So definitely stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get the fastest notifications. If you're listening to the audio version, totally cool. Make sure you subscribe to the audio podcast. But the next time you're at a computer, I expect to like and subscribe over there too. For today, this is Paul Wilson. I'm going to let Tony and Justin take it over from here. Thanks, guys.
All righty.
All right.
Well,
there we
Justin,
go.
stay in touch, and maybe we'll get you back on. I may have fed you enough information that you'll think about that, and maybe you can help round up some guys if we do something like that. So
Absolutely. Yeah, trying to touch on the information. I know he's got a bunch scheduled out, so it's don't want to touch on all of it. So
yeah, well, it'd take a lot of work, planning, and obviously need to get set up this year with plans for next year to figure out a good date to have something like that. So
absolutely.
I think it'd be fun.
Got a couple questions though. While I got you. So how did you get into all of the, I call them fix them issues parts? Like the relocation of fuel blocks, and did you just start looking at your truck and saying, I got to do something here and go from there? Or?
Yeah, I wanted to do something, and I seen something that is a pain in the butt, and try to make some fittings, and I like making parts easy to install, very durable. I don't want something cheesy that's going to fail. I want stuff to hold up and easy to use, because I don't have time to be on the phone trying to help guys out that maybe aren't that high caliber of mechanic / engineer, right?
Yeah,
So
the do-it-yourself guys.
yes.
Yeah. Well, we a lot of your stuff's been a saving grace. I'll say that. Being able to put on, throw on, get the day before the event. Maury talked to Seth a couple times and got me some stuff. As soon as he could. So
Yeah.
it's stuff like that keeps us do-it-ourself guys in this.
Well, we try to do the absolute best in getting product or items shipped out the same day, right? You call up and you need a used intake runner, right? We're going to get that thing over and try to get it shipped out that day for you.
Absolutely.
That's our goal, right? It's not wait in line and in 3 weeks we might get one out to you. It's we strive on as quick a service as we can offer, right? So
yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. It's just I don't know. I watch your podcast with Paul, and it's just how similar the stories are, how it goes and transitions in, and
how it starts out, and then I always say it's all downhill from there.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, the sled pulling bug bites you. It's over. I mean, I love going fast, but there's something about that bug you can't get rid of.
But on 2023 at UCC, I didn't smile all weekend until I climbed out of the truck from going down the track pulling the sled.
Yep.
I had a smile on my face. I'm like, this is what I like to do.
Yeah, it's different than all the rest of them for sure.
Yep.
Probably, I don't know if I'd say more competitive than drag racing, but I think they go hand in hand pretty close, I would say.
I drag raced a very little bit years ago, right? I maybe go once every other year to the drag strip, just run pickup or whatever. And truck pulling, I always thought, the drag racers have it so easy. The track conditions don't change. They can just go there and make their pass, right? Until I really started with this competing in UCC, and I'm like, ODSS also, and I'm like, truck pullers have no idea.
Absolutely.
Like the drag race.
Yeah, and that's like what Paul touched on. Trying to do multiple things: dyno, drag race, sled pull, and still be able to drive the truck. That's not an easy task. There's been people that have done it. but I still think it's a huge milestone to reach to where the truck's
Makes you
still
feel
a truck.
makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome what you're doing, and there's so much reward, self reward for you to still be able to drive and compete and have fun and pull up alongside a Corvette and kick their ass.
Right. Well, so what's your feel on a lower scale street track being able to compete and say King of Street or UCC?
I really like to. I've mixed on that. I like you. I heard you talking earlier about just being consistent, right? I mean, you're not having a fix. You can go to the drag strip. You can put down a good horsepower and do decent sled pulling. Um, Sometimes doing all that, you could be in the top 5, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, I always said when we won UCC, we sucked at everything, but we were consistent.
No, y'all didn't suck. It's not easy, and like you know, I until you do something like that to the scale like you all are at, you don't realize what all goes into it. It's
Right.
not slap turbos on a built motor in and go. I mean, that's why I've been hands on this entire time with mine because until you understand how everything works together and know when to go to, like if you're on the dyno and you're having issues, the guy that had his hands on that can go and he knows, whether it's transmission issue or something with the motor. But I think everybody I think really the last 2 years, I think people being discouraged thinking that it's not a possibility. Oh, I'll never get to that level or I'll never be able to compete there. That I hate to see that. That's where I think some of it's we're kind of hurting a little bit. Not as a whole, just everybody thinking that they can't achieve anything, but then you got guys that are trying to prove that everybody can do it. So
We see that a lot in the street class, truck pulling class. Let's keep it looking and within reach for the average Joe to go have fun, right?
yeah,
I know what happens when you annihilate the whole class all year. I've done it, and at the end of the year, no one wants to talk to you. You just go pull, load up, and leave because it's not fun, right?
and then next year rule change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's no fun winning all the time. It sounds crazy, but it's nice having competition. Everyone getting a chance at it. Everyone seeing what tire pressure does, right? Something as simple as tire pressure, and being able to compete with their buddies.
Well, I think that's where the diesel community though still is top tier because most guys are willing to help you out. When it comes to tire pressure, or asking about how much weight to put off the front, or some of my best friends I've met at a sled event, sled pull event. So I don't think a lot of other sports, other competitive drag racing or whatever, nobody lets their secrets out. But
Yeah, there's totally different communities.
yeah,
So,
for sure.
well,
sure.
I thank you for being on.
Yes,
and
sir.
We'll be chatting some more and
I look forward to seeing how that event comes along.
well, we have to work on that some more. I mean, I have a lot of people are really eager to help with it, and I think a lot of people would enjoy it. We want something that everyone can enjoy, and so.
Absolutely.
But
sounds good to me. But I'll let you go. I know you're busy. So
yeah, no problem. Thank you for being on.
all right, thank you.
Thanks, Justin.